I watched the convention from my hotel, and to me, they highlighted the best of what makes small towns so great. Coaches who love their kids, slogans like clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
No, we don't. We're all godless heathens with no values and bed bugs, okay? And we like it that way. We don't bake each other pies. I don't take food from a stranger like a psychopath.
Get ready for a wild ride through the heartland as Jon Stewart takes on Trump's small town fairy tale. We've got exaggerated anecdotes, pocket-sized communities, and a whole lot of laughs coming your way. Even though you think you know little towns, have you ever thought about one that could fit in your pocket? This next Norman Rockwell-esque depiction of rural America by Stewart's correspondents will be so photorealistic that it will defy belief. Think about it. In a little village of 400 people, everyone knows your name. Even your dog's name, and even your breakfast. Nice and inviting, isn't it? The brave reporters from Stewart's crew have found this legendary location, and boy, do they have tales to tell. We begin with Bob, an accountant who claims he has never encountered a stranger. Here in our town, we don't just welcome newcomers, he says, grinning. We honor them with a parade, 50 pies, and the naming of our firstborns. At this moment, Stewart's eyebrow almost reaches the ceiling. But hold on a second. The marketing department's Sarah adds her own tall narrative. Oh, that's comical, she says while laughing. Last week, old Mrs. Johnson stubbed her toe and the whole town showed up with casseroles, get-well cards, and a marching band.
And you look out for them, and they look out for you.
Yeah.
Josh, I have to say, that actually sounds like a dark undercurrent of racism ran through your small town.
Stewart's chin nearly hits the floor as it lowers to an absurdly low position. Also, the pie situation needs to be addressed. These pie-baking fans from the little town consider it more than a hobby, it's a sport. We have more pies than people, HR boasts Tom. We have everything you might want. Apple, cherry, blueberry, and more. We can also make you a cake if you prefer that over pie. Stewart interrupts, ever the skeptic. So allow me to clarify this. He replies, massaging his temples. You're telling me that in this town, everyone's best friends, there's a parade for everything, and diabetes is just a fancy word for too much love? The newscasters joyfully nod, oblivious to the cynicism in Stewart's voice. As cute as a button and completely ill-informed, it's like seeing a puppy attempt to grasp quantum theories. Stewart goes from seeming bewildered to clearly amused as the stories and pies pile up. These salespeople from the little town are obviously trying to sell him something. Is it any wonder he did it? This Mayberry on steroids appears as real as a unicorn atop a rainbow in a world where the majority of us are fortunate if our neighbors do not embezzle our Amazon shipments. Now this is the exciting part, everyone. Extravagant tales like this aren't merely for laughs. They're bringing to light a broader issue, which is the shortcomings of our perception of rural America. It's as if we've taken works by Norman Rockwell, sprinkled them with sugar, and declared them to be the essence of small town life. But hold on a second, what does this imply for large cities if tiny villages aren't just real-life Norman Rockwell renditions? Get ready for Stewart to completely change the way city living is portrayed. Are city people truly nothing more than a collection of inconsiderate, pie-hating psychos? You might be surprised and even laugh by the response.
I agree with Super Bowl champion Jordan Klepper, because I too came from a very, very small town full of God-loving patriots who patriotically loved our God.
And what I loved about my perfect small town was a sense of community. I used to walk down the street and total strangers in pickup trucks would make sure I was from around these parts.
It seems like everyone in the concrete jungle is a godless heathen who doesn't know what a pie is, as Stewart takes us on an exciting journey through it. Get ready for this urban caricature to go off the rails, folks. Just like Trump's hair on a windy day. Envision an apartment complex in New York City where everyone lives in harmony and everyone knows each other's names. Impressive, isn't it? In Stewart's comic interpretation, city dwellers are so estranged from one another that they express themselves solely through colorful profanity and furious wall pounding. Stewart makes a joke on how people in the city don't make pies for their neighbors. Shut up is all we say through the walls, and then we end the day. Stay with me though, things will improve. It would appear that in this metropolis where everyone lives in a tower, there is no such thing as a sense of community. Stewart presents city dwellers as so egotistical that they would trample their own grandma in order to snag the final avocado toast at brunch. City dwellers don't have time for small talk. quips him. We're too busy pushing past each other on the sidewalk and pretending we don't see that guy dressed as Elmo in Times Square. The infamous rudeness of city dwellers should also be mentioned. New Yorkers, according to Stewart, have an innate talent for simultaneously insulting moms, hailing cabs, and flipping the bird. It's as powerful as a warped urban superhero. In the city, he says, we consider it a warm greeting if someone only tells you to go to hell once before their morning coffee.
And we took care of each other, John. If one of us needed salt, someone would pass them that salt.
Baking pies for our neighbors. 10, 20, sometimes 30 pies a day per neighbor, and...
Stewart, however, reveals her hilarious brilliance at this point. He completely debunks the cities are full of jerks argument right when you think he's gonna buy into it. Out of nowhere, we witness neighborhood watchers assisting one another with lugging groceries up 5 stories of stairs, or planning building-wide potlucks with the loose directive to bring whatever you want as long as it's not another kale salad. Plus, Stewart drops a bombshell when he says that city people are so skilled at watching out for one another that they've made minding your own business an Olympic sport. While he laughs that they might not make pies, he assures that they will pretend not to have seen you ugly cry on the train following a horrible breakup. That's an excellent example of urban kindness. Suddenly, a layer behind Stewart's comical urban stereotypes becomes apparent. There are glimmers of genuine community beneath the gags about obnoxious New Yorkers and egotistical Los Angeles types. As it turns out, people are still humans no matter where you are. They support one another, develop close relationships, and yes, occasionally yell at each other to stop playing loud music at 2 in the morning. When it comes down to it, Trump appears to treat people from small towns as if they were a distinct species. The fake kind of news isn't what Stewart has in store for Donald. When the ruler of late-night sarcasm and the ruler of oversimplification meet, what may be the outcome? You will laugh, contemplate, and perhaps even snort your kufafe at this showdown.
Any moments in the convention that really resonated with you?
Well, John, I have to say the moment that resonated with me the most was Tim Wall's speech about small-town America.
That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do. But they're your neighbors.
Stewart begins by directly challenging Trump's idealized portrayal of rural America. In his opinion, Trump's vision of a tiny town is akin to an inflated Hallmark movie. White, Christian, and somehow able to buy a picket fence with a part-time job. That's who you'll find here. Following Stewart's hilarious take on the situation, the crowd erupted in applause. However, our comic hero isn't finished yet. He dissects the errors in Trump's logic as quickly as you can say, "Make America great again." According to Trump, small towns are bastions of traditional values, Stewart notes. As an example, you could pretend not to notice Farmer John's toupee while chatting up your neighbors. As Stewart points out the problems with Trump's oversimplified story, the audience goes ballistic. Then Stewart unleashes his hidden weapon, ludicrous comparisons. Trump's view of small-town America is like thinking all New Yorkers are pizza-tossing mobsters who commute by taxi. As a dramatic flourish, he pauses. Wait, that might actually be true. Stewart expertly draws parallels between Trump's oversimplification and other ludicrous cliches, which had the audience in fits of laughter. However, there are serious aspects to consider as well. When Stewart warns about the peril of attaching values to location, he becomes very serious for a second. Trump makes it seem like your zip code determines your morality. An example would be the inability to control one's swearing after relocating from Nebraska to New York. Realizing how absurd that sounds in that context, the audience nods in agreement.
Jesse, how many stoplights were in this town?
No stoplight, just a dishwasher and a sink.
Yeah, Desi, I think you're just describing a house.
A townhouse.
I'm from a small town myself, only 300 people. But we shared common values, faith, friendship.
The crowd goes silent as Stewart lays out an unsettling fact. The true United States of America isn't divided along urban and rural lines. This has nothing to do with blue states against red states. America, plain and simple. A complex web of individuals doing their best in an imperfect world. As this hits home, the eerie quiet becomes unbearable. No need to fret, though. Stewart quickly shifts gears from serious to lighthearted. Finally, he finishes with a zinger that gets everyone in on the joke once more. So next time Trump tries to sell you his small town fantasy, remember, the only place it exists is in his very big, very stable genius brain. Everyone in the crowd starts laughing and clapping. When the applause stops, Stewart leans in to make one last point. I'll tell you what, everyone, our American story is the same whether you hail from a village of 400 or a city of 4 million, and I think that account of events is far more captivating than Trump's fantasy rendition. A nod goes up from the crowd as they realize they've just gone on an emotionally charged and humorous adventure. We can't help but think after laughing at Stewart's hilarious attack. In doing so, he challenges us to look past regional cliches and into Trump's small town narrative. No matter which side of the political spectrum we are on, he wants us to challenge the stories we hear. And it is when Stewart's humor truly shines. Although he delivers punchlines with the accuracy of a comic marksman, that is not all it's about. Bringing attention to the ridiculousness of our political discourse through humor is the main idea. The point is to make us laugh, sure, but more importantly, to show us that we are all human.